Welcome back to the deep dive. We got a request to really dig into this idea of libido transformation, like how it shows up symbolically. And, we're looking at it from a Jungian psychology
Oh,
angle.
yeah, it's a great time.
Though we're going to be drawing from a couple of things. We've got some excerpts from Ochish, and I know you've got your notes on Sundays. Those will come in handy.
Absolutely. Lots of rich material to explore.
Definitely. So, you know, have you ever felt like you're going through a death and rebirth in your life?
Oh, yeah, I think we all have at some point. Yeah.
Jungian psychology actually said it's not just a feeling, but it's like how our psychic energy actually evolved.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. But before I get too deep into all of that, let's clarify something. When we say libido, we're not just talking about, sex drive.
Right. In Jungian terms, libido is way more than that. It's this psychic energy that fuels pretty much everything we do. Thoughts, feelings, actions, even creativity. It's like the driving force behind our whole inner world.
Okay, so it's like the energy that makes us, us.
You got it. And that energy, it's always changing, transforming, shifting, evolving. It's less about suppressing desires and more about like channeling them towards something bigger, something more meaningful.
So how does that actually happen? Like, how do we tap into that energy and direct it towards growth?
Well, Jung believed our unconscious plays a big part here. It's like it's trying to communicate with us.
Okay.
But, not directly. It uses symbols, especially in dreams, myths, rituals, those kinds of things. It's like it's guiding us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves.
So it's almost like our unconscious is speaking the secret language, and symbols are the key to figuring it out.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful and universal symbols of this whole transformation thing is the sun.
A sigh.
Yeah, the sun.
I mean, it makes sense that it's powerful, but what's it got to do with our unconscious?
Well, think about it. The sun, it's the source of life, warmth, energy, it represents that life-giving force, which is actually a lot like what libido is in Jungian terms. But on top of that, it's also a symbol of, the divine, right? Something bigger than us, something we kind of reach for.
I see what you mean. There's definitely something about the sun that feels, both grounding and inspiring at the same time.
Exactly. And that's what makes it such a potent symbol when we're talking about libido transformation. It holds that duality, that earthly and the divine, the personal and the transpersonal, all wrapped up in one.
So how does the sun specifically symbolize this whole transformation idea? Like, does it actually give us any clues about how to go through it ourselves?
So let's look at those classic sun hero myths, the stories of Hercules or Samson, for example.
Okay.
Jung actually saw these myths not just as stories, but as symbolic roadmaps.
Roadmaps. Zabith heroes' journeys, they're like metaphors for our own inner transformations.
Exactly. They give us a way to understand the challenges, the triumphs, that we face as we try to become more whole.
We're complete people.
Right. Like take Hercules' 12 labors, for example. Each labor, it represents a stage of psychological growth. It pushes him to confront his weaknesses, his shadow side. And then eventually he comes out of it as a more complete version of himself.
That's really interesting. I mean, I have definitely had times where I felt like I was on my own, hero's journey, facing these obstacles that kind of forced me to grow.
We all have. And those myths, they resonate with us because they tap into something very human that need to confront our shadow self, the parts of ourselves we maybe don't like to think about so much. And, ultimately integrating those parts into a whole balanced psyche.
So it's not about avoiding the darkness. It's about figuring out how to navigate it, how to bring it into who we are.
Exactly. And that's where the real growth happens. Now, these myths, they can get pretty intense, even violent sometimes. But we got to remember, transformation, it's not always easy or pretty. Think about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly.
Okay.
It's messy, yeah, but it leads to something really beautiful and powerful.
So the struggle, it's all part of the process. It's going to be those challenges that we actually transform.
Exactly. And it's not just myths that use the sun as a symbol of transformation. Religious rituals do it too.
No, interesting. Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Think about rituals like baptism or funerals. They often involve these themes of death and rebirth, which is symbolic of a shift in psychic energy. It's like shedding an old skin and stepping into a new way of being.
I've always found a lot of comfort in rituals, even when I didn't fully understand the meaning behind them.
Yeah, that's the power of symbols. They can tap into something so deep inside us, even if we can't put it into words. And rituals, they give us a framework for processing those profound changes inside ourselves.
It's like they give us a language for something that's hard to explain.
Yes. They offer a structure, a shared experience,
Yeah.
for dealing with these intense universal things we all go through. But, the sun isn't the only symbol that points to this libido transformation idea. There are others just kind of lurking in our unconscious, waiting for us to uncover them.
Oh, like what?
Well, how about snakes?
Snakes.
Yeah. Think about the way they shed their skin. It's a powerful image of transformation and renewal.
That makes sense. What else?
Water is another one. It often represents the unconscious itself and that potential for cleansing and rebirth. And then there's fire.
Fire. Now that seems a little more intense.
It is. It represents both destructive and transformative power.
Nude.
Think about how fire can burn away the old stuff to clear a path for the new.
Yeah.
Like a pretty powerful metaphor for letting go of what we don't need anymore and embracing the possibility of growth.
Wow. I'm like starting to see symbols everywhere now. It's like a holy way of looking at the world.
That's it. And the more we pay attention to those symbols, the more we start to understand what our unconscious is trying to tell us. It's like learning this new language, the language of the soul.
So what you're saying is we all need to become like symbolic detectives. Yeah. Looking for clues in our own lives.
Exactly. And those clues, they can be anywhere. In our dreams and art that we're drawn to, even in the patterns of how we think and act. It's all right there, just waiting to be discovered. It's like a treasure hunt, But instead of searching for gold, we're searching for like a deeper understanding of ourselves.
I like that analogy. But how do we know which symbols are actually important to us? I mean, there are symbols like literally everywhere.
That's where the real work comes in, right? It's not about finding the right answer in some book. It's about like paying attention to what really speaks to you.
Okay.
What images or themes keep showing up in your dreams? What symbols, in art or books really grab your attention?
So it's about that gut feeling like, oh, this means something to me.
Exactly. It's your unconscious going, hey, pay attention. There's something here for you to figure out.
Yeah.
And remember, even symbols that seem kind of negative, like, snakes or fire, they can have a positive message.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's all about context, I guess.
Right. Those symbols, they might be pointing to places where we need to do some shadow work, where we need to integrate the parts of ourselves that we've been pushing away.
Okay, let's talk more about this whole shadow work thing, because you've mentioned it a couple of times. I read it and it sounds kind of intimidating. What does it actually mean, like, to confront our shadow side?
It's not about, like, becoming a bad person or embracing negativity. It's more about acknowledging that we all have those parts of ourselves that we, maybe don't like, that we might try to hide from ourselves and from other people.
Okay.
These could be things like negative traits, like jealousy or anger. But they could also be, positive qualities that we've been suppressing, like ambition or being assertive.
So our shadow side is like this hidden part of ourselves that we've kind of disowned or rejected.
Exactly. And those rejected parts, they don't just go away. They kind of fester in our unconscious. And they can pop up in some pretty unhealthy ways.
Oh.
Shadow work is about bringing those parts out into the open.
Yeah.
Acknowledging them and integrating them into our whole selves.
So it's not about getting rid of those parts of ourselves, but like learning to accept them and understand them.
Exactly. And they can be tough work, but it's incredibly liberating. Think about it. If you're always trying to suppress or deny parts of yourself, it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But when you can acknowledge those parts and integrate them, you free up all that energy for other things like creativity and growth and just, living more authentically.
That makes sense. It's like making peace with all the different sides of ourselves, even the messy ones.
Exactly. And that wholeness, that integration, that's what Jung called individuation.
Okay, you've mentioned individuation before, but I'm still not totally clear on what that actually means.
It's about becoming, a unique whole individual, separate from like expectations of society, your family, even your own past experiences.
Wow.
It's about like shedding those masks we wear, the roles we play, and connecting with our true selves.
That sounds like a lifelong project.
It is. It's not about reaching some finish line. It's about this ongoing process of growing and evolving. And libido transformation plays a big part here. As we transform our psychic energy, we shed old patterns, beliefs, behaviors that don't work for us anymore, and we open up space for new ways of being.
So it's about being more aware of how we're using our energy and making choices that actually line up with our values.
Exactly. And, Jung, he didn't really give us like a step-by-step guide to this whole process, but he did talk about certain things we could do that would help us along the way. One is paying attention to our dreams.
Okay.
They offer this little glimpse into our unconscious and can tell us a lot about what's going on beneath the surface.
So maybe like keeping a dream journal would be a good place to start.
Absolutely. You could also try things like active imagination. This is where you consciously engage with your unconscious through, creative stuff like writing or painting, even just daydreaming.
I love that. It's like giving our unconscious a voice through art.
Yeah, it's a really powerful way to tap into those deeper layers of ourselves. Yeah, and don't underestimate, the power of just being present and paying attention to what's happening inside you. What thoughts or feelings keep coming back? What symbols or themes seem to be drawing you in?
It sounds like we need to become more mindful of our internal world, kind of like explorers mapping out a new territory.
It's a great way to put it. And remember, this exploration, it's not about finding the right answers. It's about getting a deeper understanding of yourself in your own unique path.
This is all so fascinating. I'm starting to see the world and myself with new eyes.
That's the beauty of Jungian psychology. It opens us up to new ways of seeing things, thinking, and being.
It really does. So we talked a lot about symbols and the unconscious. But what about the actual process of transformation? How does this libido energy actually shift and change?
Well, it's not exactly a straight line. It's more like a spiral with periods of intense growth, followed by periods of, integration and reflection. And remember, transformation, it's not always going to be comfortable. It often involves facing some tough emotions, challenging those limiting beliefs we have, and letting go of old patterns that just aren't serving us anymore.
So it's not about becoming this perfect, shiny version of ourselves. It's about becoming a more whole and integrated version.
Exactly. And that wholeness, it includes the good and the bad, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the weaknesses. It's about embracing all the colors of the spectrum, not just the bright ones.
I love that. It makes this whole process seem less scary and more exciting.
It should be exciting. Libido transformation. It's ultimately about becoming more fully ourselves, about unleashing our potential. And that's something to be excited about. But it's a lifelong journey, not a destination.
It really is. And it sounds like we have way more control over that journey than we might think.
We do. It all starts with, just being aware. The more we pay attention to what's going on inside, the more we learn the language of symbols, the more we can actually be a part of this whole transformation thing.
So it's not about sitting around and waiting for transformation to happen to us. It's about actively engaging like that.
Exactly. And that can look like a lot of different things. Exploring our dreams, trying out different creative things, reflecting on our experiences, even seeking guidance from therapists or mentors. It's about finding what works for you, what helps you connect with your own unique path.
As we've been talking about all this, I keep thinking about how much our culture focuses on outward achievement, material success, that kind of thing. It's almost like we've forgotten about how important this inner journey is.
That's such a good point. And it's one of the reasons why Jung's work is so relevant, even today. He reminds us that real fulfillment, it doesn't come from outside stuff. It comes from within, from aligning with our true selves, from engaging in this process of individuation and transformation.
If we're so busy climbing the ladder of success that we don't even stop to ask if we're on the right ladder.
Exactly. And the truth is, that inner journey, that process of transformation, it's just as important, if not more so, than any external achievement. It's the foundation for a meaningful life, a fulfilling life.
So if somebody is listening to this and they're feeling inspired to, start their own journey of libido transformation, what advice would you give them? Where do we even begin?
Just start by getting curious about yourself.
Yeah, Mel.
Pay attention to your dreams. Notice what symbols really speak to you. Explore different creative outlets. Think about your experiences and ask yourself what you can learn from them. And remember, it's a journey, not a race. Be patient with yourself. Be open to the process. And trust that your unconscious is always there, guiding you toward wholeness.
That's great advice. This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how my own psyche works, and more importantly, how I can actually take part in my own growth and transformation.
I'm so glad to hear that. The most important thing is to just pay attention to your own unique path. Trust your gut and let yourself be guided by that inner wisdom.
You've given us so much to think about today. Thank you for being here. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity and maybe inspired you to start your own journey of self-discovery. Until next time, keep exploring.
Subscribe to Jung's Daily Wisdom with Cecilia. Unlock a new story each day and journey deeper into the mysteries of your own mind.